How's it going, everybody? I'm back in Fallout 4 again at Starlight Drive In. This time I'm going to be doing like a water purifier slash like town center type area. Uh, in my original build, you guys will have noticed that I had like a little walkway around the water purifiers that I had in the middle, and so I just wanted to make that look a little bit more interesting. Wanted to do something similar. Uh, I feel like what this becomes is a lot better than what I had done originally, but it really stays close to what like I had intended. Like it's not really that big of a difference. Like when you look at the main building, like the mall type of build or whatever, right next to this, that doesn't look like I feel like it's the same like type of building, but this like even with like such small details like just being changed, like it looks way different. Like it looks so much better. Because I think in my original build, it was like layered. Like you could see where I had to build on top of other pieces and stuff like that. And with this, used in place anywhere, I was able to just like blend more than one piece together at a time or whatever, you know? So I think that this looks actually really good. And I blend it with like the area surrounding it. I feel pretty well. I feel like I did that pretty well, blending this like these wooden boarded pieces into the ground. So it kind of just looks like it walks straight into it. They kind of do clip into the ground, so it looks a little weird, but I think that it looks a lot better than just having like steps on every edge, and also kind of how this has got a bunch of weird edges on these wooden pieces, like right there by the menu, how it's like at an angle off of it. I think that the way that I end up dealing with that is actually really, really good. I use a lot of these shack floors to do that. So I use these and place anywhere a lot actually to deal with that. And I just do this. I mean, not all the way around, and you'll notice what I do with the other side, because in my original build, I had 2 or 3 shack bridges that went around the other side, and so I do something very similar here, and I think that that ends up looking really good compared to it what it would have looked like with just foundations all the way around it. And a lot of my main issues with this build was just getting things to really clip properly. I couldn't get things to go in the places that I really wanted, and so it's just order that you put them in, like right there. I had to take a piece out and then put another piece in. And also, sometimes it just depends on like whether or not you need to use place anywhere. And so you'll notice that I like sit there and try to place things over and over and over, and then like right here I'm trying to figure out what angle it would look best at, and I think that, but then that's the only piece that actually clips out of all the floors, and I think I end up just using place anywhere to put another shack floor in. But my intentions for this area is to kind of do something like, I don't know. It's kind of like a shanty town, I think, around this with a bar or a restaurant or something like that. And I think it actually is going to look really good. From what I've done so far with the houses, that'll be the next video that I do, is the houses. And with those videos, I'm going to just build, and then the decoration will be on the final tour. I'm not going to do separate videos for the decoration. With the last couple of videos that I did for decorations, I just did that because it was like a huge building and the videos were already long enough. So yeah, like right here, I used place anywhere. Like I said, I was going to get it to clip in a little bit, but it was just a matter of like getting it at the right height and then not having too many of those wooden boards clipping through, and then also knowing what I can cover up later. And I know that it doesn't look the best right now, but how I cover it all later and then what I use to kind of make it look a little bit more detailed, that's when it starts to look its best. And so uh, you'll see that later in the final tour. And with all the details and stuff, I think it looks really good. But my idea for this area was just to have the water purifiers in there, kind of like I did in the original build, and then have houses and stuff surrounding this. And like I said, this being a little town center area, or more of like just a water purifier area. But yeah, it's just a lot of this. Very tedious stuff. Really repetitive, and just using place anywhere to get these pieces at the right angle. It pays off in the final build. And I think that you guys will think so too. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about the houses that I build around this. I think that makes it look way cooler. My idea for houses around this were just kind of like a shanty town, like I said. So it's gonna be like tiered houses, just kind of like really cramped together. And I think that what I've built so far looks awesome. And so there's gonna be a couple videos of me just building houses here. So they're pretty complicated, actually. Like, I use a lot of different tools that I've been given with mods that I've never done before. Some of the things that I actually do, like, actually use are a little bit more different than what I've done previously, and the way that I put them together is really what makes them stand out. And so, like I said, on this side, I was going to have shack bridges going around it, and I didn't want it to be the same shack bridge over and over. And so I decided to use these balcony railings to keep people from falling in the water or whatever. But it is on, after I finish this, it is in the miscellaneous section on the very end, I think. There's these two, like, types of shack bridges. Oh, no, it's not the very end. This right here. Shack Bridge 01. It's added by Unlock Settlement Objects. It's actually, like, really awesome, that mod. It's pretty old. Tons of people use it. But this was added in with that. And just to kind of fill in a big gap in this walkway, I use this shack bridge. And so my biggest problem with the shack bridge is it's kind of like wonky, as you can see. It kind of like leans both ways and stuff. So it's just trying to get it to kind of be able to be walked across like smoothly without having to have steps or anything like that. Or a ton of different like plywood pieces and stuff, because you can't really place plywood on those very well without it being kind of wonky as well. And then I kind of thought about using this shack bridge, but I went ahead and just went with the one that's got supports. And I think that it fits fine. And then another balcony railing. And then I use the pallets on both ends so that kind of, or actually no I don't. I used it on the other end at least so that you can walk a little bit smoother between the shack bridge and the foundations, because it's kind of lifted. I didn't do that to the other side with the place anywhere. I just think that the pallet kind of adds a little bit more depth rather than it just being foundation straight into shack bridge. It's a little bit different. And then since there's those gaps on both ends, I know that I'm going to use the pallets, not pallets, but the plywood pieces to kind of fill in those gaps so that it's not like there's holes all over the place. even though it's kind of floating. I do things to fix that later. And this is where I start to really add a lot of the details. So, like I said, I was going to do a lot with the plywood, and that's what I'm starting to do now. It's just really tedious and a lot of work. And so some of these plywood pieces, I really like that they will automatically go underneath like other pieces of plywood, and it's awesome. But sometimes it kind of has like some graphics issues, but most of the time it doesn't. And I think that they look awesome because you can make it look like it's layered, so it kind of blends the plywood like shack floors with the wooden foundations. I think that looks a lot better than having just a bunch of plywood pieces like these right here. It clips straight underneath those, so it kind of makes it look like it has more depth and look a little bit better. And then to kind of fill in all the gaps, that's what I use. I use those little pieces, but some of the times that I use it, there's some clipping issues where the piece that I place it under, it'll show like flashing texture glitches from the one pieces underneath through the pieces on top. And like I said, this is just pretty much me layering plywood from now on. And then it started to get dark, so I decided to go sleep. I'm trying to be more conscious of it being dark all the time in my videos. And then I actually do place a lot of these pieces underneath the regular ones, the regular floors or whatever, just to give it a little bit more color because it's just brown. And so to make it look like it blends a little bit better with the plywood that is on the wooden foundation pieces, I go ahead and place some more, kind of connecting some of the pieces, like right there. I'm trying to place plywood that's going to connect this shack floor with the plywood pieces and the other one over there. And so this is just the little details that you kind of have to pay attention to while building, is trying to make things look smooth and like consistent, I guess. Because like right here, like even though there's no need for the shack foundation or shack floors with the plywood over here, I still went ahead. There was no need for me to blend this, but I still went ahead and tried to because I want it to fit in with the rest of the build. And this is probably, see, that's one of the issues right there that I'm talking about. So I have to put another piece of plywood over it. But I want this part of the build to blend in with the rest of the build. So I'm just placing plywood in places that there aren't already to kind of fill that gap. And then since there is this kind of lip on this piece, I actually decide to use plywood that is kind of like bent on one end, and I kind of stack that a little bit. So that is actually floating. I hope that I noticed that. But it makes it a little bit smoother. Like as you can see when I just walked over it, that's kind of got a lip, but like it's actually really smooth when you walk from this piece of the shack bridge down onto that one. You'll notice it kind of lifts me up a little bit, but whenever I go down onto the big shack bridge, it looks really smooth right there. Like as you can see, I think it looks a lot better. And then I decide to board up this side of the shack bridge too, because I know that I'm going to have the bar right here behind these walls that I'm placing now. Or, well, not right there, but on that side of the build at least, because I had it in that general area on my old build, so I want to have it there as well. And then it's just pretty much from here on out just placing like little details. So with CVA you unlock some of these planks, and I'm just kind of placing these around to add a little bit of texture around the build, make it look a little bit different. And then I also used those flat shack bridge pieces that I was talking about earlier, and I put them on some rugs so that it kind of sticks up out of the ground. And I think that that makes it look a little bit more interesting rather than it just being the shack foundations. Because, like, I think that that looks 10 times better with that piece rather than what I had placed before. And then I go ahead and do the same thing with the catwalk from the quarry. And so I was going to use the rugs, but I just placed it. And it was honestly just to add a little bit different colors and textures and stuff, because a lot of it's brown, but that dark color I think looks good and kind of mixes up the colors and the textures that I actually use. But I do use this shack bridge again, but just on this side. I pretty much cover up all of the foundation pieces that I used because I think that it actually just looks better being kind of scrappy looking. But this is like the final detail of this build, and then it'll go in the tour. And so here's the final tour. It's pretty simple, but yeah, I think that it's pretty necessary. As you can see, I was kind of on a walkway right there. I put a walkway in front of the billboard with some sandbags and stuff, kind of as like a little guard post. I didn't show that because it's like, it would take me like 3 or 4 minutes to build. It's nothing huge, but yeah, thank you guys for all the support recently. And the channel has grown like so much more than I expected it to over the last like week. It's insane. We're getting like way closer to 200 than I thought we were gonna be this soon. It feels like we just hit 100 like a couple weeks ago, and before that, I mean, I had just started like a couple months earlier. But thank you guys for all the support, and subscribe if you aren't, and let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.